Greetings everybody, Uncle Mo here, coming at you from Dome 14 in f.o.m.a. Hey, finally got lucky, hit me a little tower here. As y'all know, I've been on just a horrible streak, and hit some calderite. This was yesterday. It was an enormous calderite, and it was a little over 4,000 ped. 4,073 calderite, so nice markup on that. Calderite was hovering at about 30%. It's down to about 20% markup now, but I think I should be able to sell it for around 25%. It's a high volume ore and always in demand. So really, I was on about it was about a 7,000 ped losing streak, and so this got me back quite a bit, and I'm hoping to continue the rush, so to speak. I was looking at before then, since I hit that Belcar tower, I was running at about a 50% return, TT return on mining, and as we all know, we're supposed to get about a 90% return. That's the average that we've all figured out, and that's going to hit on part of our topic tonight. I've got to address the loot pool theory discussion that's been coming up. Mindark was generous enough to dispel some myths finally, and rightfully so. That somehow there's some sort of personal loot pool assigned to each player, and there's also other fallacies running around that, for instance, our mining might be supporting other person's crafting hofs and things like that, which is completely ridiculous, and finally Mindark has come out and said so. Before I get started on the topic, though, I just want a little shout out to Massey Lee. He hit it was just a beautiful hof. It's not on here anymore. It was about 30,000 plus iron, which is in the main arena in f.o.m.a. Which I don't know about you guys, I never hit anything there. I'll get a global or two, and somehow I just can't. The ores are so good. You got to try, but so hey, it was nice to see something finally hit there, I guess, and. Massey Lee's got a little more iron right on top of that, 1394, and some more ganganite here. So, hell of a run there. Congrats, and hope that keeps going for you. What else do I want to send out a shout out to? I had a few things in mind, but they're escaping me now. I got to tell you, as I mentioned before in my last video, I have been recovering from some surgery, and been on the pain medication, things like that. I've been on weird sleep schedules, still in a lot of pain, and finally today, just feeling good enough that I can speak clear enough and hopefully offer you some good commentary on an important subject. So, apologize. I wish I had some more videos that I could be pumping out during this time, but it's been really a rough week for me. So thanks for your patience, and welcome to another edition of Mo's Mining Musings. As y'all know from some of my earlier videos, I do work in the gaming industry, and so I deal with gamblers a lot, and I know, for one, I want to state right off the bat that I know Mindark does not want their product associated with gambling whatsoever. And I understand that. I think we're in the clear legally, although I don't have actual proof, but I'm pretty sure that Sweden and the United States are pretty much okay with what's going on here. But I still need, if anybody has some positive links on that, any court rulings or anything that's been handed down, something that has an actual link, I'd love to have that. Just so we can all kind of put that issue to rest, that what we're doing here is actually legal, but I'm quite certain it is, and obviously people have had no problems depositing or withdrawing from this game. So unfortunately, it is I don't mean unfortunately, but we're dealing with a real cash economy, and so references to gaming and casinos and things like that are inevitable. All right. Because we are dealing with some math and some of the theories that apply to both, and so it's impossible not to be able to draw conclusions that have already been made about other games when it comes to Entropia universe. Again, I'm glad EA Mindark decided to come out and say, look, I'm sorry, EA is obviously a different company. Mindark obviously decided to come out and finally state, look, there's no personal loot pools, and as far as the professions go, they're all separated, which immediately lets you know what kind of gaming we're dealing with here. And it's important to first kind of define what types of gaming or gambling there are. And there's really two kinds, all right? So let's go ahead and dive right into the topic here. There's two forms of gaming, all right? The first one is called house-banked, all right? House-banked gaming is where players are playing against the house, all right? The house provides the games, they set the odds, and they own the bank, the money that you're playing against, all right? And you're attempting to win that. The other form of gaming, the form of gaming that I am positive we're dealing with here in Entropia universe, is called pari-mutuel wagering, all right? This is, instead of players playing against a bank or a house, you're playing against a collection of other players now. That is the big difference between pari-mutuel wagering and house-banked wagering, okay? So, what I'm going to do for you is just kind of describe in detail some of the differences between house-banked and pari-mutuel waged games. And then, kind of from the description of that, I think you'll quickly come to realize that with Entropia, we are dealing with a pari-mutuel form of wagering. Okay. So again, in a house-banked game, I'm going to give you a few examples of those. For casino games, for instance, you'd be looking at slot machines or table games like blackjack. For instance, if you're going to go up to the blackjack pit of the Bellagio, all right, if you're a nice high roller and you're betting $10,000 a hand, if you get on a lucky enough streak, you're betting and you're gambling against the house, eventually you could quote unquote break the house and win all their money. You know, that's a lot of gamblers are going out there, oh, I'm going to just go out and win the casino. You know, that's their goal. And it's possible for the house to take a loss. So that's the first key to house bank wagering. That's going to be a difference between pari-mutuel wagering. All right, it is possible for the house to lose. Excuse me. Now, obviously, it's not probable. The house or any casino will ensure that the games are set against you, and they'll set a certain percentage called a vigorish with every game. And they know that over time, just the way math works, that they're going to be chipping away at your dollars. There's going to be some people that'll win at these games, some people that'll lose. But over time, the population will be a loser, and that's how casinos make their money. Okay? Pari-mutuel wagering is much, much different, all right? And what happens with pari-mutuel wagering is you're not betting against the house. You're betting against the other players that are playing the game. All right? So what are some examples of that? We gave you for house-banked games, we gave you slots and blackjack. For pari-mutuel wagering, some examples of that might be the most popular would be any type of racing. All right, horse racing, dog racing. For those of you possibly from Florida in the United States, I'm not sure if Jai-Alai is played anywhere else in the world. I'd have to do a little look into that. I'd love to hear about that if Jai-Alai is played anywhere else. But Jai-Alai is also a form of pari-mutuel wagering. People do bet on that, the outcome of those games. Also, bingo, or even poker, and even the lottery will have elements of pari-mutuel wagering. All right. So let's go over. I want to go over each of these kind of in detail, and just to kind of describe to you how they make money. All right. Now in the house-banked games, slots, blackjack, the way the casino or the provider of the game makes money is they're hoping that more players will lose than people that will win. Okay, they're trying to take the players' money. So you're playing against the house, They're trying to take your money. In pari-mutuel wagering, the way casinos make money are by charging fees and percentages. Okay? So right off the bat, you can kind of see, once you hear the word fee, obviously that should get your attention here if you're all in an Entropia player. But let's go over some other forms of pari-mutuel wagering, all right? And just to see how they make money. For instance, horse racing and dog racing. How does that work? Well, what happens is every race, you'll have a bunch of players that are going to bet on each race, all right? And by the way, horse racing and dog racing, bingo, lottery, all these do not work unless you have a huge group of players playing these games, okay? Otherwise, if you just had one person playing each race, he'd be playing against himself, and it just wouldn't work, all right? So the first thing you need is a huge group of players. And what they'll do is they'll bet on the outcome of the race, all right? What order certain dogs or horses will finish in. There's different types of bets called quinillas and exactas. Win, place, or show is probably the most famous of these bets, which is first, second, and third place. And when people bet on a horse to win, what happens with that money is that it goes into a pool, okay? And you got all these people that are betting, all right, I want 7 to win, 3 to win, I want 5 to win, all right? What happens is all that money goes into a pool, all right? And to win is obviously first place in a race, okay? So what happens is they'll run the race. What the house does is they'll take 10% of that pool, and then they redistribute the other 90% of that to whoever voted or bet on the winning horse or dog, and they'll divide it evenly based on the amount of their bets. Okay? So, it doesn't matter who wins the race. The house is going to make money. They're taking 10% of the entire pool, or whatever percentage it is. Sports racing, sports betting is also a form of pari-mutuel wagering, which I'll touch on as well. In fact, I better write that down because I'm on these drugs, folks, and these things are just. I'm so looking forward to feeling better. But, anyways, horse racing. So, yeah, you've got the 7 horse comes in. All right, everybody else that bet on the 1 horse and the 6 horse, everybody they'll just lost, and if you bet $1 or $100, you're going to get an even portion of whatever the prize pool was for the win bet. Okay? And they'll chop it up depending on what you bet, and that's what you get. So, you see these odds that beforehand on the race. Well, that's just, you got people that are experts, and they come up with these magazines and stuff and newspapers, and they'll tell you about what they think the horse or dog, based on their history and things like that. They're going to tell you, he's about a 9-2 favorite. This guy's a 35-1 long shot. He's never raced before. But it has nothing to do with the actual payout at the end. The actual payout is simply the pool minus the fee divided by all the winners and divided by their mutual wagers. Okay, obviously the guy that bet $100 is going to win more than the guy that bet $1. Okay, but it all goes in the same pool. That's essentially how it works. Okay, the house is never at risk to lose any money with this type of system. Okay. Now, bingo. How does bingo work? And if you're playing at church or something like that, you walk in and everybody, it doesn't matter how many players there are, they're just going to pay $50 a game, $100 a game, and the more people that play actually is the worse it is for you. Usually with these charity events, but like I said, bingo's a charity event usually, and the odds are just terrible. But if you're playing in Vegas, they do get a lot better. What happens in Vegas is they'll have certain tiers. You'll be sitting down, and once they get to a certain number of players, they'll go to the next tier of payouts. So instead of every game paying out $50, it'll pay out $100. And they'll have certain tiers for that. All right. So still terrible odds, but it's pari-mutuel wagering to a point. Okay. The house is never going to lose, and they pay out a certain percentage of what's taken in, and that percentage increases as the player pool increases at any good bingo hall. So let me take another sip of water here. Oh, that's good. It's not quite beer yet. Not allowed to have that. Beer and Percocet apparently are not good to mix. So let's go into like a poker room. How does a poker room make money? All right. Obviously, poker is a fine example of playing against other players. The way the house makes money is they take what's called a rake. Every hand they'll take a certain percentage of the pot, and that's the house fee. That covers them providing the tables and the electricity, the dealers and the cards and things like that. The other thing that a lot of poker rooms will do, they'll take $1 out of every pot, and that goes into what's called a player-funded jackpot. Okay. Bingo will do this, and so will dog racing. Player-funded jackpots are, I believe, how Entropia Universe handles HOFs and Uber payouts. Okay. Now, we're not sure exactly how the loot table works. They're not going to give us a percentage, but you can kind of see just from the other games that I'm about to describe how these player jackpot works. I think you'll see how quickly how that can be applied to Entropia Universe. All right. So, player-funded jackpots, another important feature of pari-mutuel wagering. For instance, in poker, if what they'll do is they'll take $1 from each pot, and then if a certain hand of poker is beaten by another good hand, they call these progressive jackpots or bad beat jackpots, then what they'll do is they'll pay the table a jackpot amount, a portion of whatever they've collected from the players. All right, and it's usually never house funded. Another good example of how you can generate a jackpot pool from players, let's go back to, say, horse racing. You'll see a lot of like daily doubles and things like that. They want you to pick 3 races in a row, for instance. They want you to pick the winners, okay? And what you'll do is they'll put $1 into this bet, and every time it's not won, and it's real hard to win these things, they'll carry it over. So all of a sudden, this daily double or whatever pool builds up and builds up and builds up. Okay. Player-funded jackpots and bingo. There's always a special game, all right? Get a blackout and 52 numbers or less, and you win the player-funded jackpot of $50,000 or whatever it is, okay? It doesn't cost the house anything extra. They just charge the player. But they can advertise all of a sudden huge jackpots and drop, players in. Players playing bingo, the main game is you want to try and win 50 or $100, but people want to have a shot at 50 grand or 100 grand. The only way to do that is to build up jackpots, little mini lotteries that people can win over time. All right, the lottery is basically that system in a nutshell. If you play any kind of lottery, all right, you're trying to hit a certain combination of numbers. And it's all player funded, and that pool is just going to continue to build up and build up until somebody hits it. So, how does that translate to Entropia Universe? Obviously, we have HOFs and Uber payouts, and they're often paid out to people that have no business winning them. That we say have no business winning them. Obviously, somebody won an all-time high coming up to f.o.m.a here, and they did it with a rookie finder and 10 ped and probes or something like that. Boom, they win 80,000 ped or whatever it was. What I think happens, folks, is I think there's a standard payout with every mining location. I believe you're standing on a certain pay table, and that pay table is affected by skills and things like that. But I believe that if you hit a certain location by random number generator, every once in a while you'll hit a HOF or a jackpot or something like that, and that'll cause an extra roll of the dice, okay, to see how much extra ped you've won. And they're going to compare that to your skills, your finder, your amplifier, and all that, and determine a final payout from there. And all of this, I believe, it's obviously player funded, okay? I'm going to suggest that a lot of people, there's a little discrepancy on, well, the game pays out 90%. The 90% is pretty much agreed upon, but what a lot of players don't agree upon is whether the 90% return rate on mining and hunting and things like that, whether it includes all-time highs and HOFs or not. I personally think it does. I think the actual return of the game is probably somewhere in the 85% range, and then they'll take 5% of the pool, and apply it to a series of jackpots. All right. So I think right now there's just a series of progressive jackpots that we don't see. For instance, Calderite, they'll apply a PED to that, or a peck here and a peck there. And I think these things just keep building up as you're mining and going along. And as soon as somebody hits the right number, and then rolls again, this is getting a little complicated, but obviously there's a roll every time you drop a mining probe. And I think whether or not you find a claim or not is based on the first roll. And I think there's a subsequent roll on that after that to see if you've hoffed or not, to see if you've hit a jackpot on top of that. That's going to be my theory for you. But we definitely are dealing with a player-funded jackpot system of some sort. Okay, it's the only thing that can explain why rookies and people of all types can hit these all-time highs, seemingly without regard to skills. But I think obviously skills are hugely important to your overall return rate. But I think the game allows for some percentage of just random luck, okay, whether you're mining or not. So, at any rate, yeah, right now I think, there's Calderite jackpots, a Domicite, whatever loot's in the game. I think it's possible that there's these funds that keep building up. And as you mine, they'll take a certain percentage of the actual return rate and build up these little funds. And then after 6 months or whatever it is, 5 months, every once in a while, one will hit, and sometimes you'll see 3 or 4 of them hit. We saw 30,000 plus hits the other day. So all very much random. But obviously, it's not something that's coming out of Mindark's pocket, all right? It's coming out of a player-funded pool. So, anyways, that's the beginning of my theory. Obviously, well, let's go into more differences between house-made games and pari-mutuel type games, and I think this will deepen. I want to call it a discussion, but obviously I'm just talking to you guys. But you're welcome to comment. I'd love to hear your theories. But this subject has just been beaten to death over the forums, and I'm really just kind of hoping to put it to bed. It's pretty obvious what we're dealing with, I think. And working in casino, I've heard all sorts of crazy theories and things like that, and we'll go over the biggest fallacy of them all at the end of the video here. But at any rate, more differences. For house-based games are traditionally less skill-based. Pari-mutuel-based games are typically more skill-based by trait. Okay. Now, obviously, for house-based games, if you're playing, well, obviously the least skill-based would be slots. You just put your money in and cha-ching, and hopefully it'll spit out a winner for you. There's really not much skill there. Video poker and things like blackjack, there are ways to play optimally. Okay, but if you're playing legally, the thing with house-based games is even if you're playing optimally or with as much quote-unquote skill as possible, you're still never going to overcome the house edge legally. Now, before you raise your hand and say, oh, well, with card counting and blackjack, yeah, I know. Okay. I'm talking about the general design of the game. All right, I get it. Even with optimal play, you're never going to get a return in favor of the player. That's just not how casinos operate. And casinos were not built on giving out more money than they take in. Okay. I know there's minor exceptions to games. I'm talking about just the general theory to house bank games. Now, with pari-mutuel wagering, I believe those games are very much more skill-based. Now, obviously the lottery is a bad example of this, but when you get into sports wagering, dog racing, horse racing, and things like particularly poker, all of a sudden a player's skill is very much important, and a player's skill can give you an edge over the other players that are playing the game. Okay? Things like horse racing and dog racing, people will study the tracks, they'll study the dogs. obviously, you can't eliminate the luck factor totally. You'll never do that with Entropia or any of these games. There's still a luck factor involved. But you can give yourself, if you educate yourself enough and play skillfully, you can overcome there is still a house edge, or basically the negative expectation aspect of the game. All right. And poker's pretty obvious. You can read a lot of books on poker and study your opponents and play and things like that. Study behavior, and obviously that'll give you an edge over other players that play that game. We talked about racing a little bit. Sports betting. There's obviously a lot of theory craft that comes into some of these as well. But with sports betting, there are bets that are more intelligent than the other ones. And there are people that do make a study of it. These handicappers, the people that come up with the spreads or the lines, and what that is sometimes you'll see a game in North American football, for instance. The Pittsburgh Steelers will play the Denver Broncos, and you'll hear that the Pittsburgh Steelers are favored by 7 points. All right. Well, there's handicappers that come up with these spreads or lines, and they're very, very good at doing it. All right. There's very much a science to it, and they are right a lot. All right. They may not be exactly on, but there's definitely a science to it, a calculated science. For determining the outcome of sports games. And the bottom line, the thing you should take from it is that the more skillful you are, the more knowledgeable you are at it, the better off you will do. The same thing applies to Entropia Universe, okay? The better your skills are in game, as Mindark has said, the better your returns are going to be, and particularly the more eco you play, the better your overall return will be. A lot of players were thinking, I can just mine with whatever amp I want, and it doesn't matter how good I'm at it, or I can use any type of armor, and as long as I'm plugging the money into the game, it'll spit it back out to me eventually. That is horse shit. I don't know who came up with such a ridiculous idea, but it's just simply not true. Mindark has calculated what mobs are worth based on what how an Uber player will function against them. That's basically it, right? There's a lot of people that can farm certain mobs out there naked, no armor, and as opposed to us new players like me who are terrible hunters, and it would have no hope of doing so. Mindark's not going to base a payout where Uber players are just going to get all sorts of money back from mobs while others don't have the ability to do so. They're basing the payout basically on what can the best players do, okay, and also how much money have gone into the actual mob pool. So the point is, as Mindark has stated, efficiency matters, your skills matter. Playing the game intelligently does matter, okay? You can't just go around and do whatever you want and hope to get the same percentage return as other players in the game. Now, that doesn't mean you can't get lucky. All right, we are dealing with a random number type system here, so you can get lucky. And a lot of bad players they'll win, It happens in casinos all the time. People with inappropriate bankrolls will go in and play one $5 slot and hit the jackpot, Players in poker that just have no skill will go in and they'll get drunk and they'll play and they just win. It just happens, all right? But the thing is that we want to concentrate on is we want to be winners. We want to be skillful players over time. And those people that gather the skills in this game have better bankrolls and proper bankrolls and play efficiently are going to do better overall than those that don't. All right. Let's go on to another aspect that kind of discerns house-banked gaming from pari-mutuel wagering, and that is house-banked wagering is generally more not considered very legal in a lot of jurisdictions. Pari-mutuel wagering is usually much more relaxed as far as the law is concerned. So it makes sense for Mindark to want to set up the game in a pari-mutuel type fashion. All right. House-banked games have traditionally been illegal in the United States, for a long, long time. We can go back to Prohibition and have discussions about that, and the state of Nevada was obviously one of the first to legalize it and have unlimited gambling. But it's real tough to find. Now, obviously, casinos are gaining more popularity. There's a trend to market casinos as more family-type destinations, and that trend certainly worked. That's why basically all the banks and investors that own these places, they want to get away from the we were owned by the mob mentality to make casinos more legal. Now in the United States, it's tough to find a state where you can't find a casino of some sort. It really is. I think Hawaii and Utah would be probably the last two areas where you can't really find much of anything. I'm talking lotteries, bingo halls, anything. But at any rate, so there's a legal status associated with pari-mutuel wagering that is more favorable than a house-banked type system. So it makes sense that Mindark would try to mimic that. And we've already gone over that obviously, once again, house-banked wagering, playing against the house, and it is definitely possible for the casino to lose. Yeah, Mindark's just not going to set up a system where they're going to be able to lose money, all right? They want a whole group of players to put in money, and they're going to take a portion of that by withdrawing fees and things like that. So some things that both systems do share, some traits. Both house-banked wagering and pari-mutuel wagering feature negative expectation. Now, what is that? That is a system where, over time, mathematically, you're going to lose money. All right. The way negative expectation works in a house-banked game is the vigorish or odds. The odds for any house-banked game are just set against the player, so that over time, even though some players may win against the game, most of them are going to lose. That's how the house makes money. Now, in Entropia, there's still a negative expectation type system. Most of the things that we do here, hunting, mining, we've all determined, we think they're about a 90% return rate. So we believe Mindark makes some money off of that. But even horse racing, things like that, where there's a player pool and they take 10%, that 10% is your vigorish for that game, all right? It makes it so that it really can't be beat over time. And I think a lot of people tell you that sports betting, horse racing, even though it's pari-mutuel, it really can't be beat over time. But if you have the skills, a lot of players do tend to beat it with pari-mutuel wagering a little bit. Now, what makes the difference here in Entropia is not all the payoffs are in straight up PED. We're depositing PED, but when we put it into the ground, it comes out as calderite or extractors or whatever loot is, and we can sell those to other players at a markup. Okay, and that's what makes Entropia great. That's how we can beat the game. All right, we all know that there's negative expectation as far as the loot pool percentage that Mindark takes theoretically, and the fees that they charge. The way we can win at the game, and what makes this a skillful game and not gambling, is that we have the ability to sell the items that we generate back at a markup, and we can sell them for more than what they're actually worth. So, again, it would be like a slot machine that you deposit U.S. dollars, and it could potentially drop anywhere from pesos to Swiss francs to all different forms of currency that might potentially be worth more than $1. Okay, and that's what makes Entropia great. What makes it exciting is that it's beatable. It really is with skillful play. Entropia is beatable over time. There are lots of players that they are successful withdrawers. I'm still a bit new myself. I have not made my first withdrawal yet. I'll admit that, but I'm still trying to generate skills together. I'm buying blueprints and things like that. The value of those are changing over time. I do keep meticulous spreadsheets of everything I do, and I am ahead of the game. I believe if I were to sell out right now, I would definitely be up some bucks. But at any rate, so one of the other things you're also going to find in house bank games and pure mutual wagering is variance. Variance is what allows people to beat, on occasion, a negative expectation system. All right, on occasion, if you're playing a slot machine, you'll go on a little winning streak. It'll just start paying. Even though it's designed to take money from you overall, for a little slice of time, that slot machine can be a winner for you. All right, just like we're mining all the time, and all of a sudden you'll hit a nice little run of claims. Or if you're hunting, you'll hit a nice streak of mobs or a hoff or something like that, okay? Now, you're not going to, a lot of people think, and here's the big fallacy we're dealing with, okay? And I'll probably end on this, but the biggest fallacy with player-funded pools or individual loot pools is that people think that their previous actions have some impact on the future actions of the game, all right? It's like saying that they think that a roulette wheel has a memory, okay? And that every roulette wheel will, it'll remember that it's already paid out 18 black numbers and only 10 red numbers, so now it needs to cough up some more red, okay? Which is ridiculous, all right? It's just not true. There's no memory associated with previous actions in any form of gambling. Okay, every time you drop a probe, every time you hunt a mob, every time you bet on a flip of the cards or pull the slot machine, you're experiencing a fresh wager. Okay, a fresh event, an independent event. Now, over time, because of the properties of numbers and math, we as humans can identify trends in basically the payouts. For instance, let's take our roulette wheel again. Now, people think, hey, if we do 1,000 spins, then half of them should be red, half of them should be black. We'll forget about the green numbers for now. But after 1,000 spins, it should be 500 and 500. It should work like that all the time. Well, that's just not true. It doesn't work like that. Now, that'll be the average. That's what the math points towards. But in reality, what you're going to get is, on occasion, it'll be 518 black hits and the rest in red hits. What is it, 482? I can't do math right now. Bear with me. But you see the point. Now, the odds are going to say, hey, it should be 50-50, and over a long enough time, it should even out, and that's true. All right, that's just a mathematical proof. But for the smaller your data pool is, the less true this will become, the greater your variance could be. Okay, and the way mathematicians measure how far off a certain series of events is called standard deviation. That's the unit it's measured in. Okay, so if you did 1,000 roulette spins and all 1,000 of them came on black, that would be highly unlikely. Now, it's possible that might happen, but we're talking the odds against that are really in the zillions. They're way out there. Okay, and the further away from the odds that a certain series of events happens, the standard deviation, what they call the standard deviation, will increase on that. Okay, so yeah, we can expect while we're mining that we'll all have a 90% return over time. Okay, But guess what? For 3 weeks, I had a 50% return. And before that, I had a 200% return. Okay? So there's going to be trends in between, and the longer your data pool is, the closer it will get to the actual odds, yes. But in the meantime, the less you play, the less the odds will sort of reveal themselves, okay? Or manifest themselves. So, what can we derive from that? First of all, we need to shit can the logic that I'm due to hit something. You're not due to hit anything, okay? You can run bad for a long time, particularly if you're not playing efficiently. You will lose money in this game. But you need to understand that it's possible, a player can walk into a blackjack pit now and a dealer can draw a blackjack against him 20 times in a row. It'll happen. Now, the odds against it are awful, but bad luck, bad streaks happen. Okay? It's part of the math. Good streaks and good luck happen. Over time, yes, you have every right to expect a certain amount of return. But a lot of you guys are just not giving your data pools enough time to realize what your expected return should be. By that I mean, I get a lot of miners will come up to me, they'll be like, I did a huge mining run today and I only got 40% return. And I'm like, well, yeah, what'd you put into it? And they're like, well, I dropped 100 ped. And I'm thinking, all right, now, everybody's got their own personal finances. I've said this before. But 100 ped in this game is a drop in a very, very large bucket, okay? The results from a 100 ped mining run could be you could lose it all. You could win an all-time high. Now, we know that the average is supposed to be you're supposed to get 90 ped back. But, just because you got 40 ped return that time doesn't mean anything, all right? It doesn't mean the game's broken. It just means you haven't played long enough yet. And the whole idea behind this game is to give yourselves an infinite amount of mining drops or an infinite amount of mob hunting sessions, okay? And you can do that if you're playing efficiently and constantly beating the markup and the fees in the game. If you're doing that, then eventually, over time, you're going to hit that HOF, you're going to hit that all-time high, folks. Now, am I saying everybody's going to start hitting all-time highs all of a sudden? No. Okay. But the idea is for those players that you really want to give yourselves plenty of mining runs. Okay, plenty of time to and money to go against mobs, and plenty of money to craft, particularly. If you do that, then eventually you're going to see the expected returns of what you're supposed to see. Now, if I review this tape and kind of back it up, that's probably going to sound like gibberish to some people. But the fact is, a lot of you players out there don't have enough bankroll to basically play the game with a full optimal level. Okay, you just don't. So you're forced to do things a little bit small and take some shortcuts, and that's okay. You know, like I said, we all have our own personal finance history. We all have the ability financially to do what we can do. We're not all Ubers. We all don't have. I can't run out right now and buy a mothership. Other people can do that, no problem. But we all have a shot, and we're all playing the same player-funded game. So realize that your returns. If you want to see that 90% return over time, it will manifest itself the more you play. Okay, and the idea of this game is to play well, play skillfully, sell all your items at a sufficient enough markup to beat the fees that you're paying in game, and to beat the inherent negative expectation of the game. All right, if you can do that, then theoretically you'll have an unlimited number of, I guess, slot pulls or an unlimited play. All right, and that's the idea of this game, and it's possible in the Entropia universe, which is a beautiful thing. So, bottom line, deposit as much as you can, play with as much as you're comfortable with. Okay, and the more you can do that, the better you'll be able to play this game, and the better the actual PC or Pi, the better that will get. All right. So in summary, yeah. I just want to. I got to wrap up this video. I'm getting a little bit lengthy here, but again, what I believe we're dealing with here, just from what I've described, is that we're dealing with a parimutuel system. All right, this game does not work with just a few players. We need a bunch of players, and that's basically the goal of my videos. You know, and, I don't have a lot of subscribers yet, but if I can get out to a few people and get a few more players in, then that's better for all of us. Okay, the more players we get into this game, the more people we have putting into the pool, the more that can come out to us. All right, and it's a hell of a fun game. I wish it was more popular. I think it will be more popular as it gets better and better. But we need to discard some of these fallacies that are out there about the game. I welcome your comments and your questions. If you have questions about gaming, or if you want to dispute some of my thought processes or logic, please do so. Just keep in mind, I'm pretty comfortable with my position. I've been in the gaming industry a long time, and I know how these systems work. And I'm pretty familiar with math too. I'm not the best at it. And like I said, I'm not here to pull my chain or pull your chain or brag on myself, but I think I know what I'm talking about here, and I hope some of these some of what I just said makes sense to you. Okay. At any rate, this is kind of a subject I'd like to see go away, but by all means, if you have doubts about it, let's talk about it. But bring something to the table other than bring something tangible to the table. Believe me, I've listened to my fair share of gamblers in my time, and I've listened to a lot of theories that they have nothing to do, anything to do with actual the math of gambling. All right, a lot of people will just think certain slot machines lucky, or certain horses lucky, or they're due to win, or you need to put those bad theories aside and just examine the math of the game. Bring a pop of bankroll, and that's it, folks. And not to mention, have fun with the game. Entropia is fun. If you visit your local gaming hall or casino, that should be a fun time. And we're all here for entertainment and good times. So, anyways, I'm going to mine up this calderite. Hopefully, I wonder if it'll let me do it now. Thank you all for kind of sticking through that video. Like I said, I never script anything. I do kind of write out an outline of what I try to say. And so some things I tend to repeat. It might not be as crystal clear as some other videos. Let's see if this will let me mine it up here. Come on, baby. Nope, I turned off all the error messages. Still got 39 minutes. All right. You all have to sit here with me for another 39 minutes. No? Okay. Again, yeah, hey, please subscribe to this channel. Leave comments. But it's time that, we put these theories and poorly constructed mathematical concepts aside on these forums and get beyond it and start playing smartly. If you want to tell me about your bad luck or whatever, I'll listen to your bad beat story. That's no problem, right? I'm used to it. So, but I want you to have good luck and play smartly, and I want you to win over time, all right? But most important, we all need to have a good time with this game. All right, I'm Uncle Mo. I'm out. I'm going to get you some videos coming up. Like I said, my health's continuing to improve. We've got certain things going on. I know I promised some videos that I probably can't remember what I promised. Things we got going on. Planet Arcadia, the economy is back up to, I think, almost 200 pages worth on the auction house. So people are discovering more and more BPs there. The treasure hunting there, the materials for that are starting to generate some actual kind of stabilized markup areas. So that's getting interesting. I think Entropia is getting more of a population, although you can't really see it on their auction house just yet. But there's definitely people there. Cyrene's going to be exciting if you're any kind of a PvP player. I definitely got to do a video on the arenas they have out there. And I think Cyrene's coming along very nice. So lots of great things coming up in Entropia Universe. Instances on Arcadia, we're looking at August for that. That's going to be exciting. So, hey, it's going to be a great summer, and we got plenty of content coming out in the Entropia Universe coming up. August will definitely be an exciting time for all of us. So, best of luck out there. Play smart, and I'll see you on the next video. All right, folks? Bye-bye.